Mr. Bowen,
Here.
Mr. Heflin,
Here.
Ms. Parker,
Hello, yes, sorry.
Ms. Cordova,
Here.
Mr. Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Lopez,
Here.
and Mr. Miller, Mayor Pro Tem.
Here. Okay, and I ask everyone to please stand. Ms. Cordova will lead us in the invocation, and Mr. Heflin will then lead us in the pledges.
Heavenly Father, come into our meeting because with you, all things are good. Bring wisdom to our meeting and guide a path that we can all do good for our community and our residents. Give the council and the staff guidance so that our community prospers. In your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of Mexico, the state's symbol of her heritage among the cultures.
Ms. Austin, will you get me the list of speakers?
Oh, yes.
Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. Our next item on the agenda is public comment. I'm getting the list of those that have signed up. The public has the opportunity to provide comment on subjects regarding city business during the public comment period. Speakers' comments will be limited to 3 minutes unless mayor and/or council requests for more information. The time limit is given as an effort to allow public input, but also to move the agenda forward in a prompt yet efficient manner. All speakers must sign in at the beginning of the meeting. So. First one, we have Mr. DeWitt, who is going to speak on water.
Good evening. I've had Councilman Heflin and the city manager answered quite a few questions for me, but I got a few more that I need answered. What date was the tanks back up to level? And if I can just go through this and then y'all can answer at your convenience or email me or whatever. How long did it take them to get back online? Other than the water elevation identified in the drought contingency plan, what are the reasons put us in stage 3 and are keeping us in stage 3? If the problem is so severe, why are there no status updates from this council, the manager's monthly report, or the mayor's page to the people? Why is this issue nowhere on the manager's report from the public utilities from January 2023 to today? Most everything I read put us in stage 3, but definitely takes us out of stage 3 as a tank elevation levels. The emergency plan, stage 3, reads that water rationing will be in effect whenever the water elevation and the level in the city supply tanks falls below 18 feet and or continues falling below 18 feet with a declaration of a water emergency by the city council. The following requirements will be in effect. The city manager will present to the city council such information as is available regarding water elevation deficiencies and request authority from the city council to engage stage 3 water rationing restrictions at the next regularly scheduled public meeting. If said meeting occurs within 24 hours of the emergency water elevation level deficiency occurring or at an emergency meeting called with as much advance notice as possible for the express purpose of dealing with the water elevation emergency. 2, the city council shall declare stage 3 water rationing and direct enforcement of the restrictions that set forth in Appendix A. Number 3, the city manager or designee will make public announcements that stage 3 water rationing is in effect in the news media, which restrictions shall continue in effect until the city manager determines that the water level in the city supply tanks has raised above stage 2 designation. My additional questions was, when was the public meeting to request authorization from the council? 2, when did the council declare stage 3? And 3, what was the council vote? I'd like to get them answered tonight if we could. That would be great. Also, mine is not, we do have a bad water problem. And it needs to be fixed. It needs to be addressed, but we got to do it by the procedure. Or you guys are pointless.
We will get you those answers. But
The
that's
last, and this is why it would be pointless. The last press release titled announcing stages water restriction update attempts to alter the current drought plan by creating a limited stage 3 that has not been approved by the council. Is this legal? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Parkey to speak on the dog pound.
Good evening, council. I recently found out that the public pound is not open to the public. And I'm wondering, why is that? And I understand you probably can't answer questions this evening, but I'm wondering if everyone on this council has toured the pound. It's been in a temporary location for well over a year, to my knowledge. The public is not allowed to enter. Volunteers are not allowed to enter. And the facility from the outside of it seems woefully inadequate. So, I mean, before you think, okay, we don't want to hear any more from bleeding heart animal activists. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that as a city, we have a responsibility to the public to have public buildings open. We have a responsibility to be transparent, especially when we're caring for very vulnerable animals. That building where it is located, I would suggest that each of you counselors go tour it, go tomorrow morning and take a look at what that facility looks like. Take a look at the conditions. If you don't allow volunteers in and you don't allow the public in, and the public can't get a hold of animal control without leaving numerous messages to get a hold of them, if we can't manage it, maybe we should outsource it. Maybe ask Clovis if they can take care of the excess animals from this community. We're on a 3-day kill, is what I understand. So if you lose your dog or cat and you're on vacation, ooh, it's not looking good for you and you can't get into the pound. I would suggest that everyone on this council go take a hard look at what you're responsible for. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will try to get you those answers. Next is Mr. Evans to speak on water.
Yeah, I was here a couple weeks ago as far as getting water turned on in my business. I want to tell the council, thank y'all. I finally got water turned on. Sarah went above and beyond. Appreciate you. Kelly, same deal with business license. Y'all are awesome. Chief, y'all went out of your way to get the fire inspections done, got my business up and running. But on another note, there's an individual with the city that I think needs to be addressed. When I went to City Hall to turn in my application, there's a fee that's supposed to be paid for this application. I understand that now, what it's all about. When I turned it in, I was asked not to pay it at the time, to wait until I spoke to Sarah about it. John Duche jerks the paper out of the lady's hand at the window, got mad, was very rude and hateful towards me on it. Sarah come out, she talked to me about it, we got it handled. But I wanted to bring it to city council because I'm sorry, if that was somebody that worked for me, yeah, he'd be reprimanded real quick. Because you don't talk to customers or anybody else like that. It's different whenever it's behind closed doors or something, but when you do it out in front of everybody like that, it's kind of embarrassing. So I just wanted y'all to be aware of that and tell y'all, thank y'all for everything y'all done for me. And appreciate y'all.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Merrick. You had several questions.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to ask questions at this time. So I've just got a question on the co-op. What is the plan of action going forward on restoring water to them? They've got people on their system that are suffering with low pressure because of the valves being squelched down by the city. I know there's some litigation going on currently. And I just want to know, I know that they have tried to start a conversation to see what we could do to resolve this and have been turned away. So I'd just like to know what the course of action is to try to get this resolved. There's got to be some kind of a discussion go on and see if we can come to a resolution. The other thing is the effluent water plant. So all the taxpayers are paying $1,329,000 a year for the until 2037. This started in 2018. So we're going to end up paying $26,580,000 for a effluent water system that's processing our sewage. And we're supposed to be able to get clean water to irrigate our parks and things like that with it. Currently, all we're irrigating is cemetery. In my April request, I asked what all locations are currently being utilized. And I was told the cemetery, softball complex, and soccer fields. Well, softball complex has not had any water put on it. And it says right here, these are being irrigated at this time. Softball complex has not had any water on it. Which soccer fields? Because everything that's in town is owned by the schools. And there's not an agreement there. If there's soccer fields that were at one time out by the old airport, those aren't being watered. So why was I told that this is being used on these places whenever it's not? I mean, basically, we've got a $26.5 million plant out there that's watering the cemetery. And if that's the case, the taxpayers have really gotten over a barrel on this one, because that's not the use that it was intended for. And if we couldn't get what we were intending to do in that $26 million, which is finish out all of these projects where it was supposed to go to, there's a list of those also. City Park, Rotary Park, Comfort Park, La Buena Vida Park, Lindsay Park, Morrison Park, softball complex, and soccer fields. If those were all intended to be used for this water, why didn't that all get included in the original cost? Why was this not a turnkey thing?
Okay, we'll get you those answers.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on with our business of the agenda. Our next item is minutes of the previous meeting, the packet.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Heflin, a second by Ms. Parker. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is a presentation of employee of the month, and Mr. Heflin is going to take care of this.
This employee of the month is Kelly. And I'm happy to give this to you because I know we've worked a lot together, being the vice chair of planning and zoning. You've always been very organized, knowledgeable, dedicated. But most of all, you kept me out of trouble. So I'd like to give you this award for employee of the month.
No speech? Congratulations, Kelly. Next item is the discussion and action items. First item is Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority. It is a request for approval of resolution number 23-24-23, a resolution authorizing and approving a water project fund loan grant agreement by and between the New Mexico Finance Authority and the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority, and joined by its members, the municipalities of Clovis, Elida, Portales, Texaco, New Mexico, in an amount not to exceed $13,900,000, including a loan amount not to exceed $1,390,000, and a grant amount not to exceed $12,510,000 for Water Project Fund Loan Grant Number WPF 5952 to finance the design, completion, easement acquisition, and construction of three portions of the Eastern New Mexico Rural Water System Raw Water Conveyance titled Raw Water 1, Raw Water 2, and Raw Water 3, and other details concerning the loan agreement. Any comments from Ms. Austin?
I don't have any comments on the resolution. Mr. Ortega may, but it spells it out in what you just read, what we're trying to do with this water project fund loan and grant agreements with the other cities involved.
Any brief comments, Mr. Ortega?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. This Water Trust Board Fund is one that we apply for annually. And we come to you every year for your approval of a resolution with this. It's an ordinance this time around, I believe.
Oh, this one's for the resolution?
It's a resolution.
Yeah, and the next one will be ordinance.
And so no different than every year prior to this. The 10% loan portion is part of the authority's 10% match to the overall project. And the city of Portales's portion is 22.5% of that 3%.
Thank you. Any questions for either Ms. Austin or Mr. Ortega? What's the pleasure of the council on this resolution?
I move we approve.
Okay, take the motion from Mr. Lopez and a second from Ms. Parker. Ms. Swopes, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Mr. Heflin,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
and Mr. Miller.
Yes. Resolution passes. Our next item is a public hearing on ordinance number 767. An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a drinking water state revolving loan fund loan agreement by and between the New Mexico Finance Authority and the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority, New Mexico, and joined by its members, the communities of Clovis, Portales, Texaco, and Elida, in the maximum principal amount of $32,320,000. So you want to briefly explain this ordinance, and then we'll move into public hearing.
Part of the ordinance, so we did a notice of intent a month ago for ordinance number 767. And there is one addendum that needs to be done, and that is to change it, like Mr. Ortega said, from 21.83% to the 22.5%, which is Portales's portion. And it will have a language in there to say city would follow in accordance to finance plan. And those are the only two changes that we're asking to go along with this ordinance. And if there's anything else you'd like to add on that.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, this drinking water state revolving loan fund is a loan to the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority. And this is a portion of the 10% of the match to the overall project. As you all know, the federal government has started to ramp up with their 75% portion. Same thing with the state's 15%. And this is part of the 10% of the Water Authority's members contribution. This, along with those Water Trust Board funds that we apply for annually. The 90% goes towards the state portion as the grant. The 10% portion goes towards the loan portion of the membership.
Okay, now that we've had an explanation on ordinance number 767, I would ask for action to enter into a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Mr. Bowen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are now in a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that has that is in support of this ordinance? Anyone in this audience that is opposed to this ordinance? Seeing none, I would take action to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Parker, second by Mr. Heflin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, now I need action on ordinance number 767. Are there any questions from the council?
Motion to approve ordinance number 767.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Heflin. Would you amend that motion to include the amendments that were proposed by Ms. Austin?
Sure.
Okay, everybody's understanding what that one was? And do you accept that in your second?
Yes.
Okay, so motion by Mr. Heflin to adopt ordinance 767 as amended, seconded by Mr. Robinson. Ms. Swopes, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Mr. Heflin,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
and Mr. Miller.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have items from the finance department, and the first item is ratification of the finance department's actions on bills, expenses, approval report for the month of September. Ms. Flynn.
Okay, for September, our expenses ran $2,022,000 and 970. Of that, the large expenditures included 164,210. That was for the fire department through one of their grants for equipment. And the other one was the one-time payment, once a year payment for liability insurance.
Okay,
So if you have any questions, let me know.
any question? Ms. Cordova, y'all took care of this in finance committee the
Yes,
other
sir.
day. Okay, you have any other further comments?
No, there was just those two large items.
What is the pleasure of the council on approving the monthly bills?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Parker, second by Mr. Bowen. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is resolution 23-24-24. Approval of the 111th fiscal year first quarter budget adjustments for FY 23-24.
And this was also approved by Finance Committee. Most of it was just kind of moving funds around within the department so that all of their line items, they didn't have anything in the negative. There was an increase in the liability insurance this year. And so I did an allowance for that in some of the revenues to make sure that I didn't have any problems uploading to the state. And there's two items that were needed to have been on budget back in July that were not, and I added them in a separate section. One of them was for the police protection fund, that 150,000. And the other one was for the law enforcement recruitment rollover that I added it in there.
Okay, Madam Chair, you have any additional comments?
No, this one was everything just budgeted out. It was just more housekeeping items.
What's the pleasure of the council on resolution 23-24-24?
I move that we accept 23-24-24.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Mr. Lopez. Ms. Swopes, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Mr. Heflin,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
And Mr. Miller.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Have been asked to remove the next item on the agenda, the Roosevelt County Community Development Corporation, the LEDA Award Participation Agreement. So I guess with that will be postponed to another time.
Actually, it's approved in August, so in duplication.
Oh, okay. All right, help me through this next one because Mr. Heflin's confused me over here now. So this is the community services, and the first item is a request for approval of a resolution number PC 2023-2024-10 for approval of a zone change for an R1 zone to an RA zone for the purpose of livestock on property with no official address.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Tony Lovato has filed an application with the city. Currently, he's in an R1 zone, which is single family residential. We go to the next page. This keeps me from rambling on forever. So he's the yellow property. He does want it for the purpose of livestock. He has owned that property for so long that cattle's already grandfathered in for that. But if he sells the property, that grandfather doesn't go with the new seller. So while he has no intention of selling it now, he would like to get that changed to an RA. That green section up top is another RA. So it's not a spot zone change because it does abut an RA, and that is the one we approved a couple meetings ago. Same for livestock. This went to our last planning and zoning meeting on the 16th. It was unanimously recommended for approval with 6-4 and 0 against. Here's a little bit of information. We sent out 20 letters and we received 3 back from property owners who were for this proposal. None against. We didn't receive anything from the utilities. Here are some of the reasonings for that are already grandfathered in for livestock. And it does abut that existing RA zone. A concern was brought up about livestock and water. This does have a domestic well on it, so they are not being watered off city water. And then the concerns were brought up that while this neighbor takes care of his cattle, what if the next neighbor does not, or they overwhelm it with smelly animals, that kind of thing. This would fall under an livestock permit that's issued by animal control. So if neighbors start complaining, it is an annual permit that can be pulled if animals aren't being taken care of or nuisances are brought up. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Heflin, you have any other comments?
Already done.
Question?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Mayor Pro Tem. So I know that it says that if it's ever sold, what if it's gifted?
So the grandfather's only good for the current property owner.
Okay.
So if it ever comes out of their name, that grandfather goes away with this zone change, the new owners will also be able to have livestock.
So should we change the language in that as far as it being sold to if it's ever changes ownership?
I think they just specify it's non-transferable.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Other
you.
questions? It's a pleasure to council.
Okay, just for clarification. Under number 4, it says a request for permit for car detailing operation.
Yes, there was
That is the same number as this
Yes.
one.
They corrected it on mine, sorry.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So the
Okay.
next
She-
one will
she
be for the
corrected
car
it on
detail.
So I want to make sure that when we make the
Yeah.
motion, that we're
Yes,
making
ma'am.
the motion for.
The
correct.
resolution number is correct. For
That's why
Mr. Tony
that's why I
Lovato.
was confused on that, because I saw it in here, but on the other one,
Right.
it's different.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Sarah brought that to me before the
Okay,
meeting
great.
started, so.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Heflin, second by Ms. Parker to approve PC 2023-2024-10. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next item is a request for approval of resolution number PC 2023-2024-11 for the approval of a special use permit for a car detailing operation in a D2 downtown mixed use zone, the property address being 101 East First Street, Portales. Ms. McClellan.
Yes, sir. So thank you. So this is the property that has requested this. If you'll notice at City Hall, so that's the building right across the street, the Farmers Borough Bureau building. So what they're wanting to do is do a car dealership business there. They're actually on a provisional license right now while we get this lined out. Car detailing is allowed in that zone with a special use permit. So that's why we're coming before you today. We sent it out. We had 2 for it from property owners and 2 for it from public utilities. We didn't have anybody against it. It originally went to September's planning and zoning meeting, but it was postponed because of water concerns. They are bringing in their own water. They're putting it in a trailer and bringing it in. So this is not one that can go to Public Works Committee because it doesn't meet that threshold where we take those businesses. And so we brought it back in October, where it was unanimously recommended for approval, 6-4 and 0 against. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Heflin, any comments?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a question. So this is gonna be a car detailing. And for right now, they're not gonna need water. They're gonna bring their own water. Will they do that from now on?
If they
And-
would like to get water, they'll have to go through the commercial use process with our utilities. And if they request a certain amount, they'll have to go to Public Works for approval. But for right now, this is being approved based on them bringing their own water in.
Thank you.
And, yeah, that's pretty much the operation, because they are bringing it in, their own water in. And that Public Works had no comment or regulate any of it. We, at planning and zoning, went ahead and passed.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Lopez?
Where are they getting the water from?
They did not just specify. I'm not sure if they have a well or it's coming out from the county. But we can just regulate city water. So,
I have one question.
but we do have the business owners here if they could answer. I'm not here.
Okay, sweet. Hi, council. My name is Andrew Garcia. I'm a part owner in Garcia's Detailing. We're currently getting the water from a private well owner that we know, a friend. He has his own well on his land, and he offered for us to purchase the water from him. That's where we're getting it from.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Robinson?
As this is a water use and business, did this go before the Public Works Committee?
So this one doesn't need to go to the Public Works Committee because the Public Works Committee only regulates city regulated water. So if they were using city water, and I believe it's over 100,000 gallons a year, they would go to Public Works.
Okay,
This falls below.
yeah,
that.
okay, so the application is under the, okay.
Any other questions? What's
I
the
make a motion, we approve.
motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Robinson to approve PC 2023-2024-11. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign. That motion carries. Final item from Community Services is request for approval of a resolution number PC 2023-2024-13 for approval of a variance to allow a trailer sales, trailer storage in R1 Single Family Residential Zone, the property address being 1416 North Abilene Place.
Thank you. So this is a property where the application is, Mr. Mendoza submitted it. So the property is currently in R1 that abuts a C1 general commercial zone. They want to store some trailers on the property. It's mostly going to be an online business, but they still need to store it. People may come by to look at the trailers. They did say there would be a variety of different trailers that they would house there. They did want the council and the commission to know that they'd already started cleaning the property up. They wanted to make the property look really nice and they intended to keep it that way, even with the trailers. We submitted 8 letters to property owners. We received 2 for proposals and then 2 from the public utilities. This also went for public hearing on 10/16, where it was recommended 6-4, 0 against. And of course, this variance is non-transferable and only for trailer sales, trailer storage. So it wouldn't allow any other businesses to go in there without coming to council. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Comment?
Nope, she said it perfect. Thank you.
Any questions from Ms. McCollum? It's a pleasure to council.
Move for approval?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Parker, second by Mr. Heflin to approve PC 2023-2024-13. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 5 is city manager. The first item is discussion and action regarding engineering services to prepare a water system study that looks at various aspects of the water system, supply, storage, distribution, usage, conservation, and offsetting potable water use. Ms. Austin.
We met with Wilson and Company, which is one of our engineers that we have on call to discuss the outcome of where our water system is, the health of the system, any options that we haven't thought of. And they gave us a proposal. The proposal is in front of you. They looked at our supply and storage, our distribution system, our effluent reuse, what parks we have on the effluent. They would like to do a study phase, project management. The study phase will include the water supplies, again, the distribution system, effluent reuse system, and any conservation efforts. The cost will be $153,000, $464.47 for them to go through this, and they did give a timeline on how long it would take. And it looks like if we approved it, they could start, well, they did put project kickoff in October, but I wasn't able to bring it to you until now, with the completion of April of 2024. So I do stand at the pleasure of the council on what direction you'd like to go with this.
Questions, comments from the commission, council?
I have a question. How often do we do these?
We do them often, but we use a different engineering company. This is a brand new engineer company that we've not had on staff.
So once they do this study, they give us the bill, we pay the bill, and then what do we do? What happens after that?
So some of the study will tell us how to do more conservation efforts, what our needs are within where we're at with our current well situation. If we need to do any updates, they guide us through the whole process of getting more water online, updating the systems that we have if we need to, that type of thing.
So this contract is going to encompass all of that.
Yes.
It's not going to be just for them to come and do the study and then they're done.
The only part, they'll continue, but the only part they will not do is any construction. This does not account for any construction.
So basically, they'll make a recommendation to what they think that we should do, and then at that point, we decide what we're going to do. And
What steps you do from there, right?
And
But
you're
it'll
saying-
give a health and wellness of all of our situation with water, which would be something that I think the city needs at this time.
And you're saying this would be completed in April of 24?
So estimation date is April of 2024. Final submittal is what they have in their presentation. Yes. Thank you.
One question.
Mr. Robinson.
Ms. Austin, in the report, did anyone discuss with them, or did they look at leakage? Pipe, age of pipes? Or did they
Yes.
make any recommendation? I couldn't.
Not yet, no. So they met with us. They talked about our current situation, what our needs are. They toured the well field, they toured the wastewater plant, and then they came back with this proposal on how we can improve from here.
So infrastructure inside of the city, they didn't look at that.
They talked to us about it, but they did not look at it yet because that would be part of their proposal.
Okay, so that would be an additional cost then, right?
If it's included in the proposal, no, it will be included in the 153,000.
Thank you.
Another question really fast. Can you remind me who did this study before?
I believe it was DBSNA,
And that was when?
another engineering firm that we have on
And
contract.
what, that was when?
Mr. Cordova gave me an update on it last year. So we just had, we haven't had something this substantial all together at once, but it's been done over time.
Is the pricing comparable to the other firm?
That's hard to tell because we did it in pieces and phases. This is one phase that, well, it's done in phases, obviously, but it's done in one actual project. But I can definitely look into that before you guys make a decision. That wouldn't be a problem.
I think it's a good idea that we have two different looks at it, instead of using the same engineering firm over and over again.
Right.
Because then you get complacent. So I think that was a great idea on how to use a different engineering firm.
I will say the one thing I liked about what Mr. Bryan said was we can focus on water conservation efforts, which we're right now focusing on how to get more production, but they'll also help us with conservation efforts, which is something we also need to be doing side by side.
Any other comments? I think we need an independent study on this. I think we need somebody to look at it besides internally and see where we're at, see what we've been told is correct or not correct. So
I would like to say that if we do approve the whole amount, it will come out of reserves, which can tip into our match funds. But it is something that I feel that we, as a city, we need.
would this be coming out of the water wastewater fund?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Michael. What's the term date of this?
April of 2024. So they'll start, once we approve it, they'll start right away from what this reads, and they will end April of 2024. And just for the publics, I will post this on the website for y'all to read. I just wanted to present it to council before I did that, but I will definitely place it on the website for you guys to have an idea of what they're looking at.
Any further questions?
Are we supposed to approve this tonight?
That's what she's asking.
Yes.
I'm in favor of approving this. And so I'm gonna make a motion that we allow the city manager to proceed.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Robinson to approve this and a second by Ms. Parker. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Our next item is a discussion item, no action, and it is the Safe Haven Baby Box. Miss Austin.
Yes, so I come before you in March of 2022, you guys voted on the baby box itself. You voted to put it in. We had to work through the contract negotiations, and that's something that has not been approved yet. And so we have our attorney here with some of his concerns. We're gonna pull them up for him to share, and then we'll continue from there.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, council members. I have been in contact with Veronica. She's been providing information. I think she's kind of the liaison and asking for some guidance. In the past, I think last year, I was provided with 3 contracts from 3 different entities that had a contract on baby box, and I responded. Now I received another. Just recently, I received, I believe, just a contract agreement. I don't think it was ever approved by the Roswell City Council. I had called into the attorney. He hasn't gotten back with me yet, but it looked like it was just an agreement. My concern, I just want to make it clear. I want you all to understand. I've explained it to Veronica, and I want the public to know, because I know there's a lot of people interested in this. What we have on the screen is the New Mexico Safe Haven for Infants Act. This is what governs and regulates having a baby box in New Mexico. It's a New Mexico statute. The first one is definition, and A just says the fire station is certified by the state. Ours is. Go to the next page, please. Okay, right there. These are definitions. It says safe haven site means a hospital. Easier if I just read mine. Find it. A law enforcement agency or fire station that has staff at the site at the time an infant is left at such site. And staff, definition of staff. The definition of staff means an employee, contractor, or agent or volunteer performing services as required and on behalf of the Safe Haven site. Go to the next section, please. This is the statute 24, 22, 23. This is the procedure that has to be followed with leaving a baby box. And B, it says a safe haven site may, which is not mandatory, ask the person leaving the infant for the name of the infant's biological father or biological mother, the infant's name, and the infant's medical history, that the person leaving the infant is not required to provide that information to the safe haven site. C is the safe haven site is deemed to have received consent for medical services provided to an infant left at the safe haven site in accordance with the provisions of the Safe Haven for Infants Act. And that's important. You receive it in accordance with the provisions or in accordance with procedures developed between the Children, Youth and Families Department and the Safe Haven site. The statute places responsibility for enforcement of this and regulation with the New Mexico Children's, Youth and Families Department. This is the section 22-4, as it says, Safe Haven procedure sites. A safe haven site shall accept, that's mandatory. That's where the state is saying you shall comply with these. Shall accept an infant who is left at the Safe Haven site in accordance with the provisions of the Safe Haven Infants Act. I'm not going to go through all of these, but if we'll go down to B towards the bottom, a safe haven site shall, we have mandatory, ask the person leaving the infant whether the infant has a parent who is either a member of an Indian tribe or is eligible for membership in an Indian tribe. But the person leaving the infant is not required to provide that information to the safe haven site. And then E is procedural again on how we report it, but the safe haven site shall ask. My emphasis on that is because the one we were presented with would be to allow an individual, mother, father, or grandparent, anybody, to place the child in a box. An alarm would go off and someone would come and retrieve the child. Or the statute says that the individuals shall ask, which I've spoken to numerous attorneys. That means you've got to present the child to an individual at the site. Because if the individual isn't left with a person that's placed in a box, you can't ask the question. If we can go to the next section, please. And this is the responsibility CYFD, and this is an important one for the municipality. E at the bottom states, an infant left at a site, safe haven site, in accordance with the provisions of the Safe Haven for Infants Act, which is what we're going through, in compliance with, shall presumptively be deemed eligible and enrolled for Medicaid benefits and services. Again, that's important. The last one is what I think my main purpose in presenting this to the council is immunity. A safe haven site and its staff are immune from criminal liability and civil liability for accepting an infant in compliance with the provisions of the Safe Haven for Infants Act, but not for subsequent negligent medical care. I think that's clear that we have to follow the obligations, and that's, I just want you to all to understand. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to create a problem for the city. I'm certainly not against the Safe Haven baby site. I met with the chief, and I think the chief made it succinct. Like I said, you know, if we have to do it, I mean, he would like to see the child brought in, any child brought in, versus being left in a dumpster, being left on the side of the road, neglected. We're all in favor of that. I'm just pointing out legally the procedures and legally the requirements for immunity from civil liability. Again, I haven't looked at the most recent, I have looked at the most recent agreement with Boswell. I don't know if they've adopted anything else. That agreement that Veronica just sent me, Monday? Yeah, just, I think yesterday.
I sent the Roswell
Oh,
one.
okay, Sarah
Yeah.
sent it to me. It doesn't address that, so they may have a separate agreement, but I just want you all to understand what the law says, what is required by the law as far as entering into a contract.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does the state override what the baby box contract say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, state
So
law,
the state is going to be over.
absolutely.
So the state is saying that if somebody comes to, whoever it is, comes to turn in a baby, they have to face somebody to turn the
Well,
baby over?
You know, I don't know if it has to be face to face. It could be probably through an intercom size system, but they've got to be able to ask the questions to these individuals. They have to be able.
So the whole idea of doing the baby box, and kind of like what you were saying, is to, without anybody knowing what's going on, I could leave the baby on the side of the road, I could leave the baby in a dumpster, I could leave the baby in the bathroom. It's the baby having a better chance of surviving in the baby box rather than any place else.
Well, that's, yes, but I think the purpose, the main purpose is to let people know that you have it. So they will go there. I mean, get the word out, let everybody know you have a Safe Haven baby box, so don't even think about putting it on the side of the road or. So getting the word out and letting people know you have it, yes, that's the whole thing.
So if that's the question, if I was a teenager or something and I was gonna take the baby to a baby box and they were gonna have, they might ask you questions, they're gonna have to ask you questions according to state law. I'm not gonna take the baby there.
Okay.
As a human being, I'm not gonna take the baby there. So I have a question, and I don't know if you can answer this. Can the municipality, the city of Portales, agree to this contract? Doesn't matter what the state says.
So I've been in contact with Representative Montoya through his staff. I was sent his letter and it says. So he sent this letter and it says in 2001, the New Mexico State Legislature passed and the governor signed into law the Safe Haven Infants Act. And then it goes on to say, the act included in the act is an immunity clause section, which directly states a safe haven site and its staff are immune from criminal liability and civil liability for accepting the infant in compliance with the provisions of the Safe Haven for Infants Act, but not for subsequent negligent medical care or treatment of the infant. So in his opinion, it is stated that we would not be liable, but it is a risk that we do have to take as a community. I asked how all of the other communities are placing the baby box in their communities and going against state statute. And he said it's based on this letter, and his opinion is that, yes, we take the risk for these babies, but it has never come that anybody has sued, because who are you gonna sue if there's
And I don't know if a judge, I don't
Immunity.
know of any judge that would say, oh, slap Portales on the hand and give them a fine because you did not follow state statute because they didn't ask this question. At this point, can we, I know, Mayor Pro Tem, you said that there was no action taken, but can we direct the attorney on, or can we, what do we need to do?
So by speaking to them, they said we have to come up with that, which we've already passed as we passed in March of 2022 or April.
And in your packet, you have the ordinance at the back.
And we have the ordinance in the back. And so it's already passed. We just have to be willing to accept that risk and direct staff that this is, even though it's not going to, and I appreciate everything that Steve has done to keep the city compliant with state statute laws. He's doing his job. And I know that it's hard. I know he and I have had discussions, it seems like we come up with a roadblock here and then I research something else and then it brings up another question. And so it's been a roadblock for quite a long time. So we can direct the city attorney to come up with a contract. And just under the assumption that we are taking risks.
Worth the credit, and we are known, we know about it. It's not like we're going into this blind.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's acts and legislation that, our governor has passed that has, it's brought it forward. It does state in that letter that I can, I'll give to Sarah that she can share on our Facebook page. That is just saying that, we're going to be required, or Right for Life is going to help us with, like, if there's technology upgrades, they're going to come in and they're going to make sure that we're compliant with our baby box as well. One of the reasons for them wanting to ask these questions is because it protects a father who has not been given information that they have this baby. So, it may be put into a system when a father could take on that responsibility of raising that child. So.
No, I got Mr. Heflin next.
Just everything I've read, it's, I come back to, this is one of those, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission on this one. You know what I'm saying? We would rather do it and then just, give us the problem, just let us have whatever we got. But the other alternative is gonna be way worse.
Right, we don't want.
And so if all these communities are doing it, there has to be, you're gonna have to take a risk. And I'm willing to take the risk, is what I'm doing.
Mr. Robinson.
Question I have, in your correspondence with the senator, did he talk about the fiscal part of this? Who's paid for this bill?
So.
And what is our liability to pay for the medical care, et cetera, et cetera? Is that on the chief? Would that be on the?
No.
Okay.
So that was in Right for Life's presentation, a few times that they've given it to us. So they've raised the money as a community. They didn't take any money from the state, our residents, and raised the money. They've had it for over a year, and there's a $300 charge that for maintenance of the box per year. And Right for Life has graciously said that they are going to take that on. They're going to do researches, not the researches, the public outreach in schools and in clinics and everywhere that they can with the box. So we are just going to be the holder of the box.
So we're not liable for the fiscal,
No,
we
sir.
have no fiscal responsibility.
No, and they even have in their plan that they'll do the maintenance as well.
Yeah, as soon as someone, what did you say?
They will do the maintenance as well. So there is no fiscal responsibility to the city. That has been taken care of for Right to Life.
As soon as someone puts a baby in the box, law enforcement is called, law enforcement checks the baby, make sure that it's not been abused. And then it's taken to the hospital to be checked on. And then from there, CYFD is called and the
Oh,
baby,
CYFD,
yeah,
or
the baby is placed.
Okay, so
into-
indigent care almost, which is.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Dorr, I think maybe they kind of give you a little bit of direction here. And I mean, your job is to advise us on what the
Risk.
what the risks are, and I think you've heard without any particular action that you might bring us a contract back for approval. Subsequent. Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update. All right, our next item is an executive session to convene, action to convene in a closed meeting to discuss matters as provided for under New Mexico statutes relating to the discussion of the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights by the public body. I need a motion to convene into executive session.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bowen, second by Mr. Robinson. Ms. Slopes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Mr. Heflin,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
and Mr. Miller.
Yes. Okay, we are now going to the,
Yeah,
More stop by the office and get it.
okay.
Thank you.
okay. Chris, as soon as you're ready, Ms. Slopes, as soon as you're ready, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. I need action to come out of closed session.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Mr. Lopez to convene back in regular session. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Only those items in the motion to close were discussed. No action was taken and no action is needed. So our next item is city council and city staff comment. I'll start with staff.
We are going to be closing the road between First and Ford and Avenue A from First to Second for the trick or treating in the square on Friday. So I just wanted everybody to know that that area will be closed down. Mr. Bowen came to me with some safety concerns and we got the streets department and we think it would be the safest option for us to make sure that our kiddos are safe.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Chief?
We have our mock interview for high school students coming up on the 4th. We did have 10 registered that will be doing multiple mock interviews with city staff to give them advice and help improve their interview skills.
Okay, thank you. How about from the clerk's office? Anything? Okay,
We did attend a Clerks Institute in Santa Fe. This past week, we were there for 4 days. And I just wanted to say thank you for allowing us, the city, to send us there, for allowing us to have the privilege of being around other clerks and learning a great deal. So it was worth it.
there's some pretty wild clerks out there. I met some of them, so
There's some.
good thing y'all made it
roundabouts.
back. Okay.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
made it back safely.
Anything from IT back there?
No, sir.
Okay, Ms. Cordova. Anything?
I have one question. I had a citizen come to me and ask me when the city red tags a car, whose responsibility is it to get it removed? So he owns the house, but he rents it out. Are his tenants required to move it? Or because when he called a towing company, they told him that their hands are tied because the city red tagged it and it was the city's responsibility to move the car.
Is
Registered owner.
it on private property or on the road?
That I don't know.
If it's out on the road, then the city
So we'd have to call the tow service. and have it moved.
Maybe you could just follow lien on, the registered on this, but private property, then it'll be a private property.
Anything else?
That's all.
Okay, Mr. Lopez? Mr. Bowen?
I got with Steve on closing those roads. I believe we're also doing South Avenue A in front of the gym, that whole area in front of the square where all the kids like to run around, and also the side streets from Main all the way to Fourth.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Good, good. Mr. Robinson?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Councilman, for my town hall meeting of the night, there was some ideas floating around, one was fundraising. And last night at the Portales Country Club board meeting, Rich Chambers and I proposed to the country club to see if we could come up with a senior citizen tournament next year. And as long as they have a 501(c)(3), I don't know if they do or not. And if they don't, then that's out. The country club won't do it unless they are a nonprofit organization.
So we've been digging, trying to find everything we can about it. In 2018, their 501(c)(3) lapsed.
It lapsed.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
but
we're
anyway,
working with them to get everything established as best as we can. And guide them, Michelle from Community Services offered to help, so we're gonna try to get them back up and running, but in 2018 it did lapse.
if that ever comes back alive, would you let me know so we can put it back on our discussion?
Very good, yes.
Okay,
Anything else?
that's it.
Okay, Ms. Parker?
No, thank you.
Mr. Hill?
Early voting, you can vote at the courthouse or the Jake Lopez building. And we can also vote November 7th. I encourage everyone to do so.
Thank everybody for being here tonight. And with that, we're adjourned.